Backed by popular demand, we are colonizing the world with capitals only. But this time we are releasing all releasable tags in 1444. More tags means more colonization, which means more competition and hopefully more chaos. Because you guys know, I want more chaos.
Are you sure about that?
Whales could colonize America, upgrade from sheep to cows. One of the Chinese nations could conquer the region and wrest the mandate from the Ming. Someone may actually be able to compete with Bengal and India, and I'm here for it. I am pushing for 20,000 subs by the end of the year, and we are cutting it close, so make sure to subscribe for more content to come, because there is a lot more content to come. As I said in the intro, we've done this one before, but this time we've added a twist. There's a couple of extra tags that you will have seen. I released every releasable nation, at least I think I did. It was via some console command stuff, so hopefully it worked out. We've got Wales and Gaeldom, for example. Kiev, Chernigov, Smolensk, they're all over here. We've got a big shout out for the Slovak boys, all the different Anatolian tags, tons of new tags over here in Iberia, as well as the Maghreb. I'm sure there are new ones in India. I don't really know exactly what all is not there in 1444, but plenty more, I'm sure. And of course, China's going to look quite different. Ming is a one-province minor up here in Beijing. They are still the emperor, so we'll see for how long, though. And one thing I did do to try to make things a little more interesting is I converted all of the Mesoamerican and Andean natives to animist. That way they could reform their government. I gave them reform progress. So hopefully they should reform and then actually colonize the continents themselves, so that way there can be a little bit of a competition, so to speak. This is going to chug extremely hard early on. It always does, but the results are always worth it. You guys seem to really enjoy these videos. So if you guys have a suggestion that we can use Colonize Pls for, make sure you let me know in the comments below the video and like it while you're down there and subscribe for more. Either way, let's go ahead and speed 5 and unpause. And if you are looking for some authentic and engaging war simulation after this scenario, I highly recommend you check out War Thunder, the sponsor of today's video. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, featuring more than 2,000 different vehicles ranging from tanks, planes, helicopters, and even ships in total war fashion, including all aspects of combined arms. Great care has been taken by the War Thunder devs to provide you with obnoxiously detailed unit models all the way down to their individual components. Nice. And I didn't even mention it yet, but the game is free to play and is available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, both newer and older gens. War Thunder offers fast, action-packed PvP gameplay that allows you to control vehicles that cover over 100 years of development, ranging as far back from the 1920s, so all my history buffs can certainly find something to appreciate. If you're a graphics snob, then War Thunder has you covered with breathtaking visuals in 4K resolution and authentic sound effects and music to keep you immersed in the game's atmosphere. My personal favorite is how deep the vehicle customization system is, and this applies to all vehicles. It's actually kind of wild, the sheer variety that you have to choose from in this game. Whether it is on the ground, the air, or in the water, there is hundreds of different camouflages, historical markings, and insignia, and even 3D decorators like auxiliary equipment and bushes that you can use to make your war engine look and feel exactly how you've envisioned it. Download the game right now on PC or console and register using my link below and get a juicy free bonus pack featuring multiple premium vehicles, premium account access, boosters, and much more. Additionally, both new and returning players will get an exclusive decal to swag out your kit. Again, download War Thunder and register today using my link below for tons of goodies and an enhanced free-to-play experience while also supporting your boy. Big shout out to War Thunder for sponsoring the video. Oh yeah, been on pause for a little bit, but you can see how slowly it is truly going. And remember, I have a Ryzen 9 7950X, so my computer is like a NASA computer. I basically built it so I can get the fastest speed 5 possible in this game. For the most part, people are just colonizing provinces near them or next to them. Though, of course, we're going to see stuff like this. Ferrara over here in Italy is jumping into Egypt because they're going to value those trade centers. They want to make sure that they're getting as much trade as possible. That's how the AI determines where they're colonizing, is basically based off province value as well as trade value. I'm very excited to see who comes out on top over here in China because there's a lot of land to be expanding into. And without massive blobs in India, I'm very curious to see who comes out on top over here. Oh yes, you can feel the lag in this frame rate, but the Andean natives as well as the Mesoamericans are slowly but surely starting to colonize, and they will probably go to war to start kind of snuffing out the competition eventually. And I am just letting the game run because this is going to take a long time, so I figure we might as well just let it run. Now, the AI is doing quite a good job of finishing up some borders around them, and once those borders fill in, then they're going to start going to war. We'll kind of have one of those shattered world kind of looking things. And I probably would have shown the modifier here in the intro, but here you go. If you haven't seen it already, yearly tax income basically enables them to colonize with no cost because it will pay for the colonists that they receive. They also get settler chance, range, and a settler increase number just to make sure that their colonies finish quickly. I've gotten comments before asking me why don't I tweak certain numbers and stuff like that. It's mostly just because I want it to go quickly. It's not like I want it to be a natural speed. It's supposed to be fast. That's kind of what makes it interesting and funny, at least for me personally. Though I would be open to some critiques if you guys think that, you know, maybe there should be more colonists, or maybe there should be less colonists, or maybe even they should get some extra bonuses while they're still able to colonize, because they do lose this after they are unable to colonize any provinces. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you guys have something to say about it. I'm definitely thinking that the New World natives colonizing a bit is going to be pretty interesting. I think this is probably something that I'm looking forward to the most. But you can see that over in Europe and Anatolia, in that area, that most of this is already filling in quite quickly, and especially with all these releasable tags, there's quite a few more boyos that are fighting for the lands. England over here in London and Essex has been cut off by Bremen and East Frisia, so that's a thing. Wales has spread over here into Wessex, and Northumberland has spread into, well, Northumberland. Yeah, you are seeing that right. That is indeed Iceland here in Gibraltar, Cadiz, and Algarve, so that's a thing that we have to keep our eyes on. But aside from that, Iberia filling in quite well. You got Galicia, Asturias, Leon, but some of them are not really colonizing. Not really sure why, but some definitely are. Ah, yes, you guys remember when the Frisians settled over here in Sardinia? And borders continue to finish touching up over here in China before the inevitable warlord period, right? Good old Ternate over here in northern Korea. So, that's a good one. And meanwhile, Indonesia and Malaya filling in quickly. It's only a matter of months, actually, before they fill in basically to 1444 standards. We have Brunei over here and Bali over here. And of course, it was only natural that Cornwall would be the one to settle Puerto Rico, with Genoa and Lubeck settling a couple of other islands over here in the Caribbean. Genoa also managed to snag Bermuda, so they are soon to get into NA, I would assume. Over here in sub-Saharan Africa, we have Kabu looking quite good, and Dahomies, the blue boys over here on the southern coast. The rest is slowly filling in, but Benin is doing well, as well as Timbuktu. Jolof seems to be okay, and we'll see how these guys in the central parts manage. And a lot of the lands over here in the Congo have filled in quite a bit also. Looks like this Yaka, or maybe this Kuba, people may end up being the ones who take over. These colonies right here are actually colonies of a southern Madagascar nation, so it looks like a little bit of exile on the way heading over into South Africa. And as far as East Africa, all the way up into the Horn, it's really anybody's game, but it looks like Sofala and maybe Kilwa have the edge. And meanwhile, India and Southeast Asia very much up for grabs, could be anybody's game. Same with Arabia, same with Iran. Looks like maybe Syria, Lebanon, maybe even Dulkadir getting set up over here in this part. Though Hiss and Kaifa is working their way down into Mesopotamia, getting quite a bit of land down here, so they may be able to pull out one here. Also, I think it's funny that Iraq is like a one province minor up here in like Kurdistan. For some reason, Byzantium and the Ottomans are not colonizing. Not really sure why, but Saluzzo definitely is colonizing. We are 33 years in. There's going to be a notable lack of an England over there. It's actually been replaced with East Frisia, which is hilarious, and it looks like Bremen is up there as well, looking pretty good. Constantinople has been taken over by the Turks, but luckily for us, they have been exiled to Crete, so they do still exist. Long live the Roman Empire! Europe is having a very, very hard time sorting out what they want it to be. The HRE still exists and is somewhat stable, but they haven't passed any reforms, at least they hadn't last time I looked. We have Hamburgian France over here, very funny. And there is still quite a few provinces that are uncolonized in here. The AI is just like really dumb about colonizing because they view these provinces as not really worth it, so they just don't do it. Though eventually when they have like FU money, they'll probably fill in a few of them. Denmark has made their way up north and is competing with Sweden and Mecklenburg, of course, for Scandinavia. The land of the Rus is still an absolute mess. Muscovy, Novgorod, Belozero, Yaroslavl, Nizhny Novgorod, they're all fighting for dominance over here. But you can't count out Perm, who is currently dominating Uzbek and looking to take over a very large portion of northern Siberia. Northern Siberia, of which is conquered mostly by Chinese tags. Well, okay. That is a thing. Mewar is doing okay. Looks like they are kind of the major tag in the area, but of course we do have Bengal, Orissa over there, Sindh on the other side, and a couple of other tags here and there. This Bagelkhand nation has a very nice purple color. I am a fan of that. Not too far off from what I expected. Sofala seemingly dominating all of the land down here, kicking most of the smaller tags out of Zimbabwe, I believe that area is called, and Kilwa making it happen up here to the north. The Horn of Africa, still very much a Thunderdome, but there are some majors that are popping out. Pate looking very good in Warsangali. The Mamluks have gotten a large portion of the Dev in Egypt as well as over here in the Levant, and it looks like they are starting to push down towards Mecca, so maybe they will actually do pretty good. But Anatolia just cannot pull it together, though Dulkadir is the preeminent Beylik over here. Dahomies has been reduced to a 1-province minor. Though my other favorite tag over here, Kabu, is doing quite well, taking over a large portion of the coast, splitting it with Benin for the most part. And these guys are still just trying to see who's gonna win. But I said it before and I will say it again, the natives colonizing is definitely a good call. I am a huge fan of this. This Jalisco over here taking over the majority of the west coast, and Aztec making their way all the way up into Canada. Gorgeous. We also have Zapotec over here with their capital in South Carolina, and New Mecklenburg taking over the majority of the east coast, splitting it with New Catalonia, New Navarra, New Granada, and Icelandic Louisiana. We do also have a Vinland and an Oldenburgian Canada next to a Mecklenburgian Canada. But take a look over here at the Caribbean and the mess that it is. We have the Granadan West Indies, Lubeckian West Indies. We've got a couple of other random tags over here. Like I had pointed out before, Puerto Rico is actually a colony of Cornwall. We also have the Muisca up here in this island, which I am always happy to see because I love the Muisca. The Turks Islands are indeed Catalonia, apparently. And in South America, the coasts are colonized by a couple of random nations here in northern Africa as well as Iberia. And as things get colonized, the religions are changing quite a bit. We've got a lot of Sunnis over here, Buddhists down here still, Confucian all the way up here into the Arctic. Southern portions of Andalusia and Portugal are indeed Sunni. And we've got some Catholic and Sunni in the New World, with animists taking up a majority of this because, as I said, I converted most of these guys over here in Mesoamerica to animists. That way they could actually colonize. But I am curious, and I want you to leave a comment down below and let me know, what do you think is going to be the prominent cultural group by the end of this? Iberian is also a good shout, but we do have quite a bit of Germans colonizing. But of course, we also have the natives of the Andean groups, as well as over here in the Arido-American groups. But this mod is running so slow, so I'm going to go ahead and go eat some lunch, and I will be back and check with you guys in a bit. Y'all, take a look at this war, the Albanian conquest of Belgrade. They have inflicted almost 100,000 casualties on these guys, with 40,000 of them being Bulgarians. Albania is not messing around. I love it. They're allied to Saluzzo, Urbino, and Austria, so clearly they are doing okay. The British Isles continue to be a mess, with East Frisia and Bremen taking over the majority of the development, but we can't count out Scotland. And the land of the Rus continues to be a Thunderdome, with a few tags here and there getting eliminated, but it looks like Denmark, Belozero, and Nizhny Novgorod are going to be the major guys, but Polotsk cannot be counted out as well. Also, how about that Zaporozhye? That is a beautiful tag, and it's funny because they've migrated out of their homelands into Crimea and over here into the steppes. Like, did you guys know that these guys have a unique government that allows them to have special abilities? Like, they can raise a Cossack host to get free Cossack regiments, which, if you don't know, Cossack regiments are really strong because I think they do extra shock damage, if I believe. They're cavalry. Super underrated tag. I would love to play as them sometime. But Western and Central Europe are still an absolute mess. I have no idea what to expect, but it's still pretty early. It's only in the early 1500s, so we'll see how things go. Manchuria and China continue to also be a mess, as is Japan, but Oda looks like to be doing okay over there in Japan, and it looks like China is turning pink with Chu down here in the southern/central portions of it. And a lot of the smaller tags in Southeast Asia and India are starting to get consolidated into major tags, so it looks like we're going to see a little bit of blobbing sooner or later. Africa honestly looks exactly the same as it did about 50 years ago when we last looked. And North America is honestly mostly the same, with things just filling in, but we do have a war against Jalisco and Mecklenburgian Canada. Safe to say Jalisco is going to win this one. And down here in the south, we have Cusco versus this Calchuqui. Anybody's game, honestly. I'd be curious to see how things are going to go. I think ideally we see like massive blobs that pop out here, but then the colonial powers want to contest it, and then we see some back and forth. I'm really curious to see kind of how the struggles resolve. The Reformation has also spawned with Reformed up in Scotland, as well as Switzerland, and Protestant in Germany and France. The HRE is going back and forth between positive and negative imperial authority. Last time I looked, like 15 years ago, they actually hadn't passed a reform. So it looks like they're doing their best, but probably not going to be doing much for long, considering the fact that the Heretic Prince account is going to keep on ticking up, and it's just going to get worse for them. And not long after unpausing, we have a massive war on the North American continent between Jalisco and Aztec, basically Western versus Central Northern America. Massive casualties on both sides, but it looks like the Aztecs are going to win because they have more development. This Jalisco is most of their development in kind of the crappy parts up here. So the provinces are huge, but they don't really have that many, I would assume. And in the age of absolutism, 1610, in the year of our Lord, there is some very interesting border changes that we're going to have to be taking a look at here. England has made an appearance, but how about that East Frisia? Very easily to mix up over here. Looks like they are currently winning a war against Scotland. Denmark has finished up their conquests here in Scandinavia, aside from a couple of provinces in Norway, and are pushing into the land of the Rus. And also pushing into the land of the Rus would be Bohemia, who had a personal union on Poland, integrated them, and are all the way over to the Black Sea. The Black Sea, of which borders a very beautiful color, Romania. I love to see an AI-formed Romania. Just across the Adriatic, you can see the vast majority of the development in Italy under one single banner, the Venetian banner. Very cool. Germany and France are both still absolutely in shambles. There's a couple of major tags here and there, but lots and lots of border gore. Iberia is a region divided, with Portugal up there in Cantabria, Castile, and then Andalusia splitting the rest. And Andalusia is having a game. Boy, are they having a game. All of Northern Africa has been united under the Andalusian banner. The Mamluks have done quite well over here in Arabia as well as Egypt, pushing all the way up into Anatolia, with Dulkadir and Hizankaifa, the other major guys in the area. But how about that Luristan? They're like 2 provinces in 1444, so I'm really happy to see them doing good in this timeline. We have Khorasan right next to Fars, which I've been told before means the same thing, just in different languages. Like you have Khorasan, Fars, Persia, Iran, they all mean the same thing, just in different languages. Am I wrong in that? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Japan has consolidated, looking very good, but Manchuria, not so much. But China looking extremely nice under the very beautiful pink Chu. Bengal looking good in India next to a very strong Jampur next to a massive Mewar. And in the south we have Andhra as well as this Paralkamandi and then Andhra down here as well. We've also got a couple of Malacca provinces down here, and Malacca is actually from over here. So a little bit of colonization shenanigans. Multan up in the north looking quite strong, and it's only a matter of time before these borders start to really sort themselves out. Beautiful color over here around Lake Victoria for Rwanda, of all tags. And speaking of beautiful colors, Kabu, my beloved. Probably my favorite tag in the game. Not because they're good, they actually suck. Their national ideas are trash, and they are in Western Africa, so they're obviously not going to be a very strong tag. But that color, man, that color is gorgeous. But the compartmentalization of the major tags here in South America is for the most part finished, with Andalusia holding out a couple of provinces in Brazil as well as Colombia, and one Castilian province up here in Cayenne. The Aztecs continue to dominate here in North America, but New Mecklenburg and New Andalusia still holding out on the East Coast, with Jalisco on the west. Reformed in the Isles and Protestant on the mainland, but honestly, it looks like Reformed has actually won this one. Obviously, Catholic is still pretty good, but we do have Orthodox holding on for dear life over here in the East. New World is mostly Catholic, which is hilarious. And yes, in the New World, most of these natives have converted to Catholic, and they are all following that banner, except for Jalisco is animist still. Coptic Ethiopia is still holding on strong over here in the Horn of Africa. And though Pate is getting destroyed and ganged up on over time, they have held out the Abadi faith over here as well. Most of the provinces in India that are Hindu are controlled by Hindu nations, except for Bengal and Jaunpur. They are converting a bit, but not a whole lot. And with a little over 200 years left, Venice is the #1 great power, but only because there is a couple of institutions that need to be embraced. The real #1 great power is Andalusia, followed by Bohemia, Denmark, but it actually looks like the actual #1 great power is Aztecs, if you can believe that. We then have the Mamluks, Chu, and the beautiful, the brave, the East Frisians. The best Frisians in my mind. No, I'm just kidding. East Frisians, West Frisians, you're all cool with me. But it is really cool for real to see East Frisia up here in the Great Powers list. Hey guys, can you take a second and rate my Great Britain on a scale of 1 to 10? Because I am a pretty big fan of this Britain. Don't forget their capital of Sussex down here. Also, look at all these cool hats. Man, I want to wear these hats. France dominating Castile, as well as Hamburg in France. Swabia and Westphalia have formed, and Bavaria, so lots of really cool formables. Meanwhile, Venice and Romania, the major power blocks over here in Italy and in the Balkans / Carpathia / Ukraine. Romania is really big. Scandinavia is having a really good game, pushing into northern Germany as well. It's almost as if Scandinavia is overpowered. Bohemia at one point had all of this land over here, and they have just been dogpiled by every direction. And now they're just a bunch of little exclaves over here in the Russian steppes, as well as, you know, like Czechia. The Rasids have had a really good run over here in southern Arabia, as well as the Horn of Africa. And they're actually a really strong tag that's present in 1444, but normally they form Yemen, which is funny because it's like a downgrade as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, the Rasids doing well. Nice color as well. There's quite a few major tags that have popped out over here, but the big one is Transoxiana. Not to be outdone, though, Japan has most of the land over here in Siberia, Korea, and all of Japan, with a one-province miner, Tidor, over here, who is a native down in the Spice Islands. So somehow they got their capital up here in, what is this, Manchuria? China, absolutely a mess. Somehow Yarkand took over a large chunk of North China, and then Chu is getting beat up on by Transoxiana. So yeah, China's not good. Chu took the mandate and crumbled, and you know, that's nothing new. Anybody who takes the mandate is basically a fool for doing it. Australia is split between Australia and Sudanese Australia. And I might be an idiot for thinking this, but every time I see Sudanese, I always think Sugandese. And I giggle to myself every time. We also have Pasai Australia over here because why not? Pasai doing well over here on Sumatra and Borneo, and Java is all Sunda. Ayutthaya is mostly Southeast Asia, and Arkan over here in Bengal, with Jampur getting beat up on by Mewar as well as Andhara at the moment. Kilwa had a bit of a comeback. Looks like Sofala is gone. Just gone. They do not exist anymore. Congo still working through the Congo, but not the #1 power in the area. That would go to Kilwa or Kanem-Borno to the north. It does appear that Kabu decided to stick around, and they're even giving Dahomeys a hug. It is funny though, because Dahomeys start over here, I believe, and then they got pushed down to over here, and now they're over here. They're just migrating. They're migrating all over the place. South America, sadly, is getting absolutely destroyed. Andalusia is ripping through Cusco, and they just take provinces left and right, feeding them to their colonial empire. But North America, wow, that's a pretty green North America. New Mecklenburg has been cut in half by the Aztecs, and every war they lose more and more land. Though Andalusia's nations haven't lost a whole lot, so I'm not sure why Aztecs haven't attacked them, because I don't think Andalusia can really join to defend them, but I could be wrong. But take a look at the Orthodox boys all the way up into Vienna and over here into Austria proper. That is quite the religious borders over here. Also, Germany is for the most part Catholic, with Scandinavia Protestant, Reformed over here in East Frisia, and France is Protestant as well. Very funny, because it's essentially switched, right? Well, obviously these guys were Protestant as well, but this would normally be Protestant and this would normally be Catholic. And over here, kind of a mixed bag, right? Anglican / Catholic. And back in these times, it would have been kind of hard to really decide on one or the other, because I think it was a pretty divisive topic. Either way, the Shinto boys making their presence over here in Siberia, and the Sunnis continue to push into Iberia. 1821, our old friend. Earlier, we said rate my Britain as East Frisia. What about Netherlands? Netherlands is a really good Great Britain, right? Especially considering the fact that France is almost certainly going to kick them at least out of France. I don't know about the rest of Europe. The Teutons have built the Kiel Canal while expanding their borders from Oldenburg all the way well over into Lithuania. Livonia pushed out of Livonia by Scandinavia, and Rostov existing as the one single Russian tag left, with most of Russia not under their control. We do have a Kalmyk that has formed. Very cool Buddhist horde that spawns via event down here off the Caspian Sea. I always love to see it, and I love to point it out every time it happens. Andalusia got pushed back in Iberia as the French started to conquer the north, but how about that Venetian Italy? All of Italy, except for a couple of provinces in Corsica, as well as portions of France, southern Germany, Bavaria, all the way up into Czechia. I mean, heck, they've even got some land over here in Bosnia, only to be outshined by the most gorgeous Romania I have ever seen. They even looped up around here into Iran, having land all the way in Karamabad, with this awesome monk over here converting the province, ranging all the way up into central Germany. They even conquered Berlin. Legendary. Somehow, some way, Ferrara still exists in northern Egypt. They have been up here for hundreds of years, untouched by the massive nations that surround them. First the Mamluks, and now Andalusia. Kabu and Timbuktu still exist over here, with the majority of the development in southern Africa as well as eastern Africa conquered by Kilwa. I told you that this pink Mafali tag was doing an exodus over here, and it ends up that they did, but yeah, didn't do too well for them. Transoxiana did pretty good, Japan did pretty good, and then, oh my gosh, Rajputana did pretty good. Mewar went on to conquer all the way from Iran down into Malaysia. That is awesome. And I always love it when random tags like this guy here live, like this Konhar, whatever, they still exist. And I have no idea why. There's not really any reason why they should exist, considering the fact that they're surrounded by, this. Pasai was pushed out of their homelands, but they do still have quite a bit of land over here in the Malaccas as well as down under. I believe that this was actually an independent Australia for a moment, so they may have conquered it. And speaking of conquered, how about those Andalusian colonies, right? Cusco pushed all the way down to the coasts over there off of Brazil, and the rest is all Andalusia. That is, until you get up into this area in Colombia and Peru, and you see some green. The Panama Canal has been built, this time by the most impressive AI Aztecs I have ever seen. Now, generally I would get annoyed with an AI native doing well, but the fact that I buffed them on purpose makes me feel a little bit better about it. Like I had a hand in this, right? The plot twist of the century over here is Teutonic Canada, as well as Mecklenburg right here with their capital in Eriksfjord occupied by rebels. Though don't worry, they did manage to hold on to their colony over here in Alaska. Eastern Orthodox seems to be the dominant religion over here, at least for the majority of the development, though Catholic definitely did well in its own regard. Protestants in the west as well as in the north, with Reformed over here in the Isles. The New World is all Catholic as per the Aztecs. A little bit of Sunni over here with some animist and more Catholic, all under the control of the Andalusian colonies. Much of Central Africa is Sunni as well as Southern Africa, but we have fetishists over here with some Coptics in the Horn, as well as this part over here in Nubia, but sadly no true faith followers. India remains Hindu, and it looks like the Hindus have also pushed well into Burma and into Tibet, as well as all the way up into whatever this area is, Kazakhstan, I guess. But how about that Shinto, man, pushing all the way into southern China, mixed in with a little bit of Buddhist. I think that's pretty sweet. Hindu Australia is very based, and culturally we have a mess on our hands. We have English up here in Scotland and the Midlands and Essex, apparently, as well as London, but the rest is Welsh, and aside from that, it's Germanic cultures over here, as well as some Lower Saxon over here in France and Pomeranian here in northern Iberia. And of course, we can't forget about the Frisian culture of Cagliari. The Austrians were pushed out of their homeland by the Czechs, and the Italians pushed Dalmatian culture all the way up into Hungary, as well as a couple of provinces in Greece, as well as northern Egypt. Clearly, Romanian culture did quite well, pushing all the way into the steppes, and somehow there's one Oirat province over here thousands of miles away from the rest. That may have something to do with Kalmyk. Never mind, that is definitely Kalmyk. Kalmyk culture converted this province. It's also Buddhist, by the way, which is really cool. I'm telling you guys, you got to look up the culture of Kalmyk. Google it. Very interesting stuff. And here we go. We have Lithuanian surrounded by literally no other Lithuanian in the middle of nowhere. Not really in Lithuania. Hilarious. The Swedes have been pushed a bit out of Sweden, with the Sami over here and Danes pushing up into Skonia, as well as into this area here in Kalmar. Punjabi culture pushing all the way into Tibet, very cool. And Andalusian converting a lot of the land over here in Tunisia, as well as Libya and southern Egypt. The lands over here are a complete mess. We have Bornean, Moluccan, Filipino, Javanese, and even China has been converted a bit. We got some Filipinos in China, some Moluccans up here, Sulawesi up here. Meanwhile, South America is mostly native, with some Moroccan, some Platinian, some Pomeranian, a little bit of everything over here. North America, big ol' Aztec right here up Tornado Alley, with some native Mexican over here, with some Iberian Mexican over here. Very large portion of Pomeranian over here in the East Coast, as well as in Canada, right next to Westphalian and Icelandic taking out the rest. I love how Icelandic is like over here in Canada, and then just randomly Louisiana and some provinces over here. Ah, yes, we all know Iceland, the Pomeranian island nation, right? And of course, I can't end it without showing you guys the great powers, but I cannot tell you this, I did not expect Rajputana to be the #1 great power. I was expecting it to be the Aztecs, but it does look like Rajputana, Aztecs, Italy, and Andalusia in the 4th place are all within 100 development, or about 100 development of each other, which is crazy. Romania did really well in the 5th spot, and the Netherlands, formed by East Frisia, in the 6th place, Teutons with 2,000 development in 7th, and Japan with just under 2,000 in 8th. A fully stacked up economic hegemon for a big beefy Italy, and naval hegemon for the Aztecs. That is really cool. Oh, sadly they have 0 points for it, so yeah, they don't get any bonuses, but you know, it is what it is. Take a look at the HRE. What in the world is this? Minus 1.98 per month. Swabia is the emperor, with Burgundy, Swabia, and Hesse as electors. No free cities, 4 princes. Once again, a huge special thanks to War Thunder for supporting this video. And like I said before, make sure you download War Thunder and register today using my link in the description, and you will get some awesome goodies and support your boy. Big special thanks to War Thunder for supporting this video. You guys rock. You guys usually tend to enjoy these Colonize Pls videos, so if you'd like to see something like this in the future, make sure you leave a comment down below with a suggestion of a scenario. I read all my comments. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. I am pushing for 20,000 subs. If you want to join my Discord, my subreddit, my Twitter, you can check those all out, linked in the description below. And if you want early access to these videos, make sure you check out my Patreon. It is linked in the description below, and you could have seen this video 2 weeks ago if you supported your boy. Anyways, lads, that is all I've got for you. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. And until next time, stay chill.